Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to explain what the difference is between the different structures of the fatty acids and a couple of things you need to be aware of. Alright, to start off with, I'm actually going to go to the scatter to make this a little easier for you to understand. And if you take a look at this, a couple of things I want you to notice. Remember, there are two types of lipids. There are the steroids, and the thing about steroids, they all have this stereotypical four-ring structure. Okay, so those are the steroids. Then there are the di and triglycerides. Now, what makes something a ditriglyceride? It's either it's glycerol linked to a fatty acid. All right. So if you actually take a look, you notice that the fatty acids are these long chains that have like a little acid at the end. Okay. The acid is the H and the OH, and that's what connects to the glycerol. Unfortunately, these molecules are backwards, so they're not really connected. But you can see that this, if you flip it over, this H and this OH up at the right-hand side is going to connect with this OH and by linking together. So these are both two different kinds of fatty acids. Now, so this guy over here is the glycerol, and these are two different kinds of fatty acids. Well, what's the difference? Well, if the fatty acid is saturated, okay, all the carbon molecules link together in a nice straight line. If the carbon molecules are unsaturated, it means that there's some double bonds in here, and the double bonds create some kinks. Now, why is that important? Well, the reason that's important is unsaturated fatty acids are very oily. They have a tendency not to turn into solids, and so as a result, they tend not to clog your arteries. So you really want unsaturated fats in your diet. Saturated fats, although they taste good, have a tendency to be very waxy. If you eat a lot of saturated fats, they tend to build up in your bloodstream, and then they clog your arteries, and then you have heart problems later on. Okay, so our two types of lipids, there are the di and tri monoglycerides made up of glycerol and one kind or the other kind of fatty acid, and the steroids, which are mostly used as hormones. The other thing you need to understand is of the glycerides, well, there are two kinds. If you are linked to two fatty acids like this guy, you're a diglyceride. If you're linked to three fatty acids like this guy, you're a triglyceride. So if you actually look at this, you can kind of see it kind of makes sense. Glycerol and fatty acids are what make the di and triglycerides. A diglyceride is two fatty acid chains. Triglyceride is three fatty acid chains. And then with this weird linky kind of ringy thing, that's always going to be a steroid. Di and triglycerides are always usually found in membranes and stored in fats under your skin. Steroids, they're also sometimes found in membranes, but they're mostly used as hormones. Things like cholesterol is the one that's found in the membranes, but they're also found in things like estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, stuff like that. All right, that's it for this particular assignment. You guys, I want you guys to memorize that. Make sure you're ready for the quiz.